Point Washington.
If you're going to?
Yeah. It's a lot of kids. We actually went to Wednesday night supper last night at the church.
Oh, that's good, Mike. I like that. That's great. That's where you meet a lot of people.
Spaghetti?
We actually had chicken pot pie. It was really good.
I love chicken pot pie.
Well, yeah, and they feed you every Wednesday. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm talking to a bunch of high school kids that go to South Walton. They have their first game at home against Baker. And Baker has the running back that broke all of Derrick Henry's rushing records in Florida. But the crazy thing about the kid is he only has one hand.
Yeah. So you're going to that game? That'd be a neat game.
I guess weather would be up there. If it's raining, I'm definitely not going. But if it's clear, I might drive by there.
Mike, you say he's got doesn't have a hand on well, what does he do? How does he carry the football? On the other hand?
He was born that way. But pretty amazing story. I'll have to float some information on the kid.
He carries the ball in his right hand, and he can flare out for a pass and catch with one hand.
And can catch it good.
He kind of can, grab it pretty good. And
I was reading on Facebook world yesterday that Jalon Boyd and Charles Peterson have gotten a scholarship offer to Houston, which is a big offer because Houston will be a Power 5 playing in the Big 12 by the time he goes to school there.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll have other offers.
Yeah.
Just a junior.
Yeah, like you said, that's a long ways away.
Pike Little Arts has a change in their football schedule next week.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, next week instead of going to Georgia to play Heard County High School, they will travel to Chipley High School in Florida, and Chipley will open their season this Friday against Rutherford, and Chipley last year had a 9-4 season,
boy.
That's going to be an easier drive going to Chipley, Florida, as opposed to Heard County, Georgia.
It's going to be an easier drive, but golly, playing one of the top teams in Georgia.
Well, they were. Now they're going to play in Florida, Chipley.
Excuse me, in Florida.
Well, Heard County is a much.
Yeah.
I'd rather play Chipley than I had Heard County.
Yeah, well, you're right.
I think Chipley's a 1A school in Florida.
They are.
So that would be better for Pike Little Arts. But they got back-to-back trips to Florida. They go to Fort St. Joe the next week.
Right. Well, they have a bye. They played Chipley on September the 2nd. Then they have a bye on the 9th. And then on the 16th, they go to Port St. Joe. So there is a bye in between.
Yeah. And hey, I hear the coach, and of course we've got a lot of games to talk to you about this week. Austin Peay's at Western Kentucky in college ball. That game, I don't know if it's televised or not. Nebraska and Northwestern will be televised Saturday morning, and
that's going to be on Fox.
Yeah, that's right. Wyoming plays at Illinois. Vanderbilt plays at Hawaii, and the Jacksonville State Gamecocks come to Montgomery to play the Stephen F. Austin. So
the cheating Stephen F. Austin according to Rich Rodriguez.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. And ladies and gentlemen,
I guess when you have to run somebody off from your practice to try to film it, I guess that is cheating.
Yeah. Hope Coach Witt knows where the coffee machine is. They can get him a cup of coffee before it comes out. I want to mention, of course, high school football this week. Brantley at Highland Home. That's going to be a good one there.
And last night, Troy Cable, they have the coach's corner, and David Helms is doing the show this summer.
Yeah, how'd he go? Yeah.
Did good. I saw a little bit of the Highland Home coach. They Skyped. He Skyped from his home to the studio.
Yeah. Coach, get you a cup of coffee out there if you want one.
So will County kid driving to Troy and do it on Skype?
Yeah, I think it's easier for him and all the coaches. I didn't get to see the whole program. Like Coach Hambright, I think, is live. Coach Moore is live from Goshen. Right. Hambright from Charles Hudson High School. Don Moore from Goshen. And
before we get rid of talking about the games, Goshen's at Zion Chapel. Mary Montgomery of Mobile, it's actually Sims, Alabama, at Charles Henderson. Bayside Academy is at Pike Liberal. Elba is at Kinston. Auburn at Enterprise. Going to be a real good game within our reach here. Luverne at Geneva County. Pike County at Strawn. Dale County at Carroll of Ozark. Arrington in a big game against Highland Home. And then, of course, this is going to be a nice
Michael,
little...
I was told yesterday that there's a possibility of the 3 players who transferred to Pike County from Pike Liberal Arts last week will be eligible against Strawn.
That means they've got...
so we'll see.
What's that kid's name?
I think you said his name's Nemo.
Yeah,
Nemo, and he is a giant kid, and he's going to really help Pike County out. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a great show for you today. Coach Rusty Whitt, the strength coach at Troy University, will be on our show right after this.
A personal touch, a high level of trust, whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
In the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle? We've got what you're looking for.
So come see us at Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Troy, and you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.
Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC.
These teenage years can be tricky to navigate, especially when it comes to teaching my son about managing money. I'm thankful for helpful tools like Sidekick from Max. With Sidekick, requesting and rewarding money is easy. He can earn it by completing chores, making honor roll, or simply making a request from his own app. I love that I can easily monitor his purchases and set limits to help him learn to make smart choices with his spending, even on video games. Sidekick. Find it in your Max app.
Our wide selection of pre-owned vehicles looks so good, you'll think they're new.
So take the short drive to Bill Jackson Ford in Troy, where you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.
Bill Jackson Ford, Troy, Alabama.
Yeah, I went to prison first.
Oh, did you?
We're back.
Ladies and gentlemen, back to our show brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass. Remember, nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody. My good friend Rusty Whitt's on the show. Don't you break my hand, Coach. And here's my buddy Forrest Lee, Coach.
Good morning, Mike.
I'll introduce you to Forrest Lee.
Yeah, I'm Forrest.
Pretty good football coach in his own right at one time. And, of course, I reckon, Coach, everybody asks you when they see you, you got, and I'm bad about saying this, have you got them ready?
You know, as far as we started in January, and this game, of course, was looming in our schedule to get them ready to play an SEC team. So we have worked as hard as a team can work to get them ready. So our guys are excited. We're fast. We're strong. And we're ready to go. We're excited about it.
Coach, I've been around Troy football, gosh, 40, 50 years, whatever. I've been around that long, and I've been conscious of things like the strength program and so forth. But I've never, ever, I live on Crow Hill, and I ride by the practice field every morning coming to this show or whatever. I've never seen so many kids that stay over there all day long almost. I mean, you got them, it seems like, all day long because if having all those cars have anything to do with it.
Well, during the summertime, we had a extensive schedule with them. We would run in the morning and lift in the afternoon. So they were up there all day long. We have a lot of players doing extra work. And they're in our old weight room we call the dungeon, working on their skill development in there. A lot of more guys than I've ever seen before doing extra film work. And Coach Summerall challenged his team to behave and train and prepare like professionals. And they have really been doing that. So it's exciting time.
Coach, once the season starts, what's the schedule for your for the football team as far as strength and conditioning?
That's a great question. So we designate our team into basically three categories. We have the travel squad, and the NCAA mandates they have to take a day off. So our day off has been designated on Sundays. So we train our veteran squad on Mondays and Wednesdays. They have a 2 times in the morning that they come. So we have roughly 65 or 70 players that come in and Mondays and Wednesdays. On Thursdays, they have a volunteer day. They come in and they train on their own. But we have a group we call the Trojan Warrior group, and those are all the younger developmental guys who are not yet in the 2 deep. And they work out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We just finished that group up probably 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
And
it's an off-season and it doesn't matter how early it is. That was going to be my next question. Coach, I mean, you were getting them at least 6 o'clock.
We have what we call Trojan Time. So Coach Summerall established Trojan Time is 10 minutes early. The guys this morning had a workout at 6:10 a.m. So they're at 6 a.m. they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So we went from 6 to about 7:10.
Well, how do you coordinate their nutritional? Do we have a person that's helping with the nutrition?
Well, we just hired a coach. His first day was yesterday, Colin Kenyon, and he comes to us from Army West Point. He worked at Harvard.
Another Army guy. Get out of here, Coach.
There we go.
He's West Point. They hire and develop the best coaches that I've ever seen. So I went up there 2019 after leaving Texas Tech, and I wasn't surprised at all by the environment, but it was just so enlightening to see how they develop their cadets up there. And
see, I know this early morning is nothing unusual for Army people, is it?
Oh no, not at all. They fire that cannon off around 5:45 in the morning, and they raise the American flag up, and everything. His business is going on.
Would you be in the weight room whenever they would go through those?
No, I was shaking breakfast.
Yeah.
I was walking across campus around 5:30 to get to the dining facility, which is this amazing granite building there, and I'd walk across the campus. And
we're talking about Army, the cadets of Army.
Don't you say midshipman?
I mentioned it. I straightened it out. Coach, I straightened it out. I don't want any trouble, Coach. But we have so many questions to ask you. We'll probably be shooting around different categories.
That's fine.
But like I said, now does Army eat any better than Troy?
Probably not. Our dining facility at Troy is really good. And to feed the amount of people they have to feed on our campus, probably better than me how many students we have at Troy. At West Point, they have around 4,400 cadets, but they all have to eat at the exact same time.
And they are eating like this now. Let's sort of educate us on this, like this. Eat. Eat.
The incoming freshmen do that, but the older cadets don't.
But it is fun, one of the real experience to watch that, at Army.
The discipline was just awesome.
Plus, it's exciting that Army is coming to Troy to play.
Yeah,
it's going to be
Veterans Day weekend.
Well, I have a lot of respect for all the coaches up there. Coach Monken, he runs a tight program up there, and the head string coach up there, Coach Hughes, he does just an incredible job. So it's going to be fun to see him again, and just go head to head and see what we can do against those guys. And
they also have a Division I prospect, maybe first round pick in the NFL draft at defensive end, don't they?
Yes, they do. When I was there in 2019, he was an incoming freshman, and so they do a good job of developing talent up here. So he's a big, tall, long guy. And he was in the top 5 in the nation last year in sacks. So he's going to be a big challenge for us.
Yeah, I told Dad I want to make that trip up to West Point. Everybody tells me it's a bucket list trip.
Definitely, it's a beautiful place. It's the stadium is called Mickey Stadium, and it's sitting right on the Hudson River. and it's just a picturesque place to be. And
excuse my language. I bet it is cold as Hades.
I was shocked. I lived in Colorado for 3 years when I was in the military, and I thought I knew what cold was. And then the Hudson River is like a wind tunnel from the north. It's a frigid place.
It ices over, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The whole river ices over, and they'll have ice-breaking boats coming down with.
And so you've experienced some Army Navy games. That, of course, the Navy the same way. You know, they got that. You know, the bay there, and then it comes on in, and it's a cold place too.
The Army Navy game is usually played neutral. They were playing in Philadelphia for a while. I think they're playing in New York. There where the Giants and the Jets play for the next couple of years. But
was that a good experience, the Army Navy game?
When I was there in 19, we played in Philly, and it was we lost. So I can't say it was a great experience, but
and y'all had
the build-up was pretty amazing to it.
And
the thing about that game is you had around 4,500 Army cadets, and the midshipmen have around the same. So let's call it 9,000. Yeah. They don't sit down the entire game. As soon as they walk in, they have to stand up. And they're jumping up and down. The level of excitement and intensity is just unmatched.
Yeah,
Coach, when you were at Texas Tech under Coach Kingsbury, you developed a program called the Fourth Quarter Combatives, which applied martial arts with football stuff. Is there a special theme at Troy that you've
we haven't
developed?
done that. We haven't done that yet. I'm starting to. I brought in my punching bags and some sledgehammers, and I got the offensive linemen to start doing it. At Texas Tech, it was program-wide, but we are still in the developmental stage of getting guys to lift weights right and get a good strength foundation. So at Texas Tech, I was there for 3 years. I'm going on my third now, and after that 2.5-year period, we really got that in going at Texas Tech. But we had 30 punching bags. Every guy was issued his own mitts and a weighted vest. And
let me tell you this: a friend of mine coached at Texas Tech, and he said the most important thing you can have is a mask. And the reason he had that mask is because those sandstorms will blind you. Is that right?
The fans what?
The
sand.
The
sandstorm.
The sandstorm.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, my first week at Texas Tech, I saw players walking around with goggles around them.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And they had bandanas and goggles. So occasionally, not a whole lot, you would see a sandstorm blowing in, and they put the bandanas and put the goggles on.
But it was hard to keep your car clean, though.
Well, it was. But I grew up out there.
Yeah.
I went to school in Abilene Christian.
Yeah.
Which is a couple hours from Lubbock. So.
Know it well.
Abilene Christian beat Troy in basketball in the basketball tournament this year.
Yeah, they beat us in football not too long ago, I think. I want to say. But Abilene, were you raised out there?
Born and raised in a town called Azle, just outside of Fort Worth, Texas.
Azle, Texas.
Azle, Texas.
I just wanted to repeat myself.
So what kind of athletes does the Texas Tech have compared to what Troy has? Is it pretty equal, or is it just more depth?
You know what? And I'm not even exaggerating. Our entire defensive, all 11 of our defensive starters right now would probably start at Texas Tech when I was there. And that's.
Kingsbury, he was strictly an offensive guy, wasn't he?
He's an offensive guy, but I think the parity in college football is a lot closer than people think. And Texas Tech is 6 hours away from Dallas. It's a long trek, and there's a lot of challenges in recruiting some players out there.
It really is, yeah.
Now, this new staff, they could probably do a great job. They're building a remarkable facility out there, and
so what they would have that we don't have is money. Is that right?
No, I'm not going to say that. Yeah. It's a very large school. They have a law school out there. They have around 40,000 students in this building.
It was a big school.
Yeah. Coach, I'm going to read your resume, I guess you'd say.
This is your life,
Yeah.
Rusty Witt.
You were a graduate
the
assistant
strength coach at Troy.
at Midwestern State. Is that in Texas?
Wichita Falls,
Okay. Then a graduate assistant at Texas.
University of Texas, correct?
All right. Then you worked at the United States Olympic Training Center. Speed and agility, was that for all athletes there? That was in
Colorado Springs.
Colorado.
I was just some of the sports I was designated to work with was women's volleyball, men's volleyball, taekwondo, Greco-Roman wrestling, collegiate wrestling, badminton.
Wow.
It was shotgun. It was just a huge variety of athletes, and they were some pretty amazing people. Cycling, USA Cycling. It was an awesome deal.
Then you were the assistant strength and conditioning coach at William and Mary.
That was my first paid gig, yes.
And then at Louisville.
Correct.
In 1998.
Yep.
Then you went to Sam Houston State as the head strength and conditioning coach.
My first head strength job.
Then coach, at age 32, you joined the United States Army. Is that correct?
That's correct. The morning of 9/11 that we all probably recall very well. The young men I coached, most of them weren't even born at that point, so time passes us by. But 9/11 was a Tuesday morning, and I had just had a reconstructive knee surgery done. They did an exploratory surgery on my right knee, discovered an ACL tear, repaired it. So that was around August 15th I had the surgery. So on 9/11, 3.5 weeks or so afterwards, I'm in a lockout brace and I'm coaching, and I went home to change in their clothes because I had to teach a health and wellness course around 10 in the morning. So I go home, change clothes, sit in my recliner, I take a pain pill, elevate my leg for a minute, turn on the TV, and I'm watching a tower collapse on live news. And we all remember how we felt then. And my grandmother called me, and she was a child of World War II. You know, she was probably 14 when Pearl Harbor happened. And she called me, and she's the first person I talked to watching the news. And she said, "Rusty, you're watching this."
We were sitting right here when it happened. Yeah.
And she goes, "This is just like your Pearl Harbor." And so when I sat there with my leg incapacitated, and she said that, I felt a lot of anger. And anyway, I rehabbed my leg, and about 9 months later, I walked across the street to a recruiting center and joined the Army. So
I'm going to do that right there.
It was a little bit of an impulsive decision. I thought it through, though, and I had a lot of support from my coaching friends and my family, and decided to do it. And I wanted a challenge. I wanted to be on a team again, and I was in really good shape and highly motivated at the time to do that. So
when you actually joined, were you about 33, or were you 32, 33, something like that?
32 when I walked in, and then I think I turned 33 in basic training.
Okay. And then you served
about
with
6 years.
Special Forces.
I went to right down the road here at Fort Benning, Georgia. I went to Infantry Basic. They designate Infantry Basic, which is where all the Rangers, Green Beret guys go to start out their careers. Most infantry, 10th Mountain, 82nd Airborne, all that, they start out there. So went to basic infantry, had to do advanced infantry school to get your 11 Bravo designation. And then I went to airborne school. And then I thought I was going to go to Ranger Battalion. My orders got changed, and I got sent to Fort Bragg for the qualification course for SF. It all happened really fast in a short amount of time. January 4th, 2004, I was starting Special Forces selection, and that was a pretty remarkable experience.
Tell me about how you feel jumping out of an airplane.
The first time I did it, I was about the 6th person in my stick, and they opened the door up, and it's a very unnatural feeling to step out of a good airplane.
They call it sticks.
Yeah, I was I
love that.
I was on the
step out of a good airplane.
Yeah, I was in my stick. I was like the 6th person, and I was sort of seeing guys disappear out the door, and I was shuffling my feet, and then they made a big deal about jump refusals. If you pause at the door, it's a bad thing. So I just stepped out, and it was a C-141 jet.
Yeah.
And I was all day heat blasted through you, and you smelled the gas and all that. But it was exhilarating. And then once you got 10 or 15 jumps deep. It was just like jumping off of a bus. It was
Yeah, but let me ask you this: jumping out of an airplane, sometimes the drill would be what 1,000 feet.
Well, you count. You could go 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and if at that point you haven't felt you look up, and if you haven't seen your chute open, you got to grab your reserve. Which never happened to me.
Have you ever talked to anybody that had to grab their reserve?
I've known a couple of people that had.
So it's, even these guys that fix those parachutes,
riggers,
you got to know how to do it.
They do. They had their own riggers, had their own MOS, so they're very good at it. They do a lot of.
But let me ask this: what I was going to get around to, what is the shortest distance that you've had to jump out of a plane?
Let's see. I believe that the standard for a static line jump is around, I want to say, maybe 2,000 feet these days.
Yeah.
I could be off. But that's about it. Now, my father, who was in the 101st Airborne, before they went to the helicopter air assault method of insertion, he was in the 101st Airborne. And his airborne cadre were all Normandy invaders that jumped into Normandy, and they jumped from a variety of 600 to 800 feet, which I think most of them didn't even have a reserve.
And then some people, bless their hearts and their souls, a lot of the people that dropped off in the wrong place.
So you deployed to Iraq 2 separate
2007 and 2008, and I did not re-enlist, so my last deployment, I went over on it for a shorter time, and I came back. I wanted to get back into the coaching profession, so I came back and started job hunting while I was finishing up my Army.
Okay. Then you went to Rice as an assistant coordinator after your stint with the United States Army.
Yes.
And then you went to Louisiana Lafayette for about 5 or 6 years as the head strength and conditioning coach. Then at Texas Tech for about 3 years as the head strength and conditioning coach. Then at Army, you already mentioned you were there for 1 year. You've been this is your third year at Troy.
Third season. So 2020 was pretty crazy with the COVID shutdown. I got here in January of 2020. Had a 5-week off season, 1 week of spring football, and then they shut the world down on us. Yeah. And then so 2020 was just, we couldn't really get our program installed, and it was a lot of, and this is, nationwide, it was hard to get a good, consistent program going. So 2021, to me, was really the first time we could get some consistency going. So,
so when you were at Lafayette, you coached under Huspa. Was Huspa the head coach?
I was initially hired under Ricky Bussell. So it was kind of a strange time to get hired. I got hired in around October of 2010. I got to Louisiana, I believe, right before their third or fourth game of the season. And then they let Ricky Bussell go, and they brought in Huspa. And Huspa's a good friend of mine now. At the time, he didn't know me. And his first day on the job, he called me in his office, and he said, "Hey, you're part of the old regime, and I'm going to cut you loose." Well, I hadn't even unpacked my boxes yet. I've been in Lafayette like 7 weeks. And I was like, "No, I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to do it." But he gave me I said, "Give me 1 semester, and if you don't like the results, I'll move on." And we made a little gentleman's agreement, and he liked the results, and I stayed there. We had the best season in school history. Won the New Orleans Bowl 4 years in a row. So it was some good time.
And of course they've got great.
Everybody says Lafayette's one of the best places to live in the Southeast too. Did you like Lafayette?
It was a very fun town. Big, big.
If you like Mexican food.
Do I like Mexican food? I love.
Lafayette's got a lot of great Cajun places, though.
Yeah. The seafood there is good, and there's such a big mix of food with their social culture with crawfish boils and the Zydeco band. So it's a fun place to be, but you have to watch your alcohol consumption because everybody wants to drink and party.
Well, yeah.
Coach, how many staff do you have? You're strictly football at Troy University.
That's correct. I have.
How many staff do you have under your wings?
The associate director that we just brought in from University of Illinois by way of West Point, Colin Kenyon. He's the associate director, and he's just got here. So 2 of us are full-time, and we have Nick and Trey are our 2 paid GAs, Nick Bell, Trey Page, and then I have Trey Ross, a player who medically retired, is a student assistant. So 5 of us.
Okay.
And
how do you compare yourself with a guy like that used to be at Alabama? That would get out there and
Cochran?
Yeah,
Coach Cochran?
I
It
mean,
worked
the
for
kind
him.
of your style. What I'm saying.
Well, his style is very excitable. I know his programming comes from the Tommy Moffitt lineage, who Tommy Moffitt worked at LSU for many years, and he won national championships. So Coach Cochran is a disciple of him. So he ran a sound program, very excitable. He had what he called the fourth quarter program. So he had a lot of success. So
yeah, it's a lot of raw, but it's a lot of raw jumping up and down though.
And that's not me. I don't. To me, that's the players are the ones who need to lead, who need to be the more. I mean, emotional leadership is important, but I would rather the cameras be on the players and me be behind them.
And the players can do the rah really. I'm big about saying go Troy or we are Troy. But they've got their own chance, don't they?
I just rather be. I'd rather be behind the scenes on that.
I've walked in there for probably unannounced sometimes and watched you, and you're at one end, you're up a little bit higher than they are, and everything evolves around what you tell them to do.
It's a very organized program. Everybody has a worksheet with 3 weeks on it, so you can chart their progress. Every exercise is broken down by sets and reps. So I really believe in a lot of 3-week organization. I don't forecast very far in the future, but I forecast around 3 weeks ahead of time.
Do you find out that most high schools have most of these kids come from a good weight program in high school? Or
it just depends. We get some players that come in and they're locked in and they're excellent at their movements. And some players, a lot of players play basketball, baseball, track and field, football, and they never really partake in an off-season. So they don't learn how to do the lifting that much. It's not that ingrained in them, but we do get good athletes that learn fast.
Now, this sounds sort of silly, but do they know how to breathe?
That's a good one. Breathing and bracing is a huge part.
A lot of them just don't breathe correctly.
Exactly. Today we did hang cleans.
Sort of explain that a little bit.
So we did hang cleans, and we had to pick the bar up to the middle of their thigh. It's an Olympic lift called the hang clean.
Yeah.
And we asked them to breathe, bulletproof abs, and brace before they exert.
Yeah.
And a lot of players don't understand that concept initially, and so they have a loose spine. But when you squat, heavy weight, you've got to breathe and brace your abdominals. Yeah. And that air pocket will support your lumbar and keep you healthy.
And your pegs. You got, this is where you develop your pegs. Is that right?
When you bench press, same thing. You lay on the back, you pull your hips towards your shoulders, and you brace tightly. Yeah. When you watch bench pressers move a lot of weight, 500, 600, 700 pounds, their face is usually red like a tomato because they're exerting against a very tight. And then as they finish, they'll breathe out the air.
You know how they compete in the white jerseys and the red jerseys? They really compete all day long on the practice field. Do they compete in the weight room too?
Absolutely. We have these neat little units called Tendo units, and it's a little device you put on the squat rack and attach to the bar, and it measures the speed of the bar in meters per second. So, like I'm doing a bench press, and I'm trying to get 0.60 meters per second. So there's 3 guys at each rack, and they compete how fast can I move the bar. So one guy might get 0.62, next guy gets 0.65, and he has bragging rights. And so there's a lot of jawing going on inter-squad competition.
We're having a great morning this morning. Rusty Witt, the head strength coach at Troy University. We're going to get even more involved with our interview in a moment. And, of course, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back. Brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram Trucks on the bypass and our good friends at Bird Drug in Troy, Alabama. We'll be back. Is that chair comfortable?
I'm good. What is it?
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
In the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle? We've got what you're looking for.
So come see us at Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Troy, and you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.
Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC.
These teenage years can be tricky to navigate, especially when it comes to teaching my son about managing money. I'm thankful for helpful tools like Sidekick from Max. With Sidekick, requesting and rewarding money is easy. He can earn it by completing chores, making honor roll, or simply making a request from his own app. I love that I can easily monitor his purchases and set limits to help him learn to make smart choices with his spending, even on video games. Sidekick. Find it in your Max app.
Our wide selection of pre-owned vehicles looks so good, you'll think they're new.
So take the short drive to Bill Jackson Ford in Troy, where you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.
Bill Jackson Ford, Troy, Alabama.
You mentioned some of these assistant coaches. Do you work with them at all?
All of them.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you a question, or just mention this, but when you went to college at Abilene Christian, you majored in political science and administration. Is that correct?
Police science. It was criminal justice.
Police. Okay. Police.
There was a
Police
joint
science.
program there between Hardin-Simmons University, who has a very renowned criminal justice program, and Abilene Christian has a sociology program. And so I would go to Hardin-Simmons, and they would send students to Abilene Christian for sociology.
Okay.
So it was a joint deal I went to.
Yeah, police science. Okay,
Yeah,
I
it
read
was-
that wrong. But you got your master's degree in kinesiology at Texas.
University of Texas, and there's a lot of exercise science.
Well, I bet that was a tough course.
It was.
Kinesiology is the study of both the bone structure, and I've always said somebody go through a certain schools of kinesiology know as much about the bone structure as a doctor.
Yeah, you got to take anatomy 1 and anatomy 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dr.
Don't
Jack
give me a headache,
Wilmore
Abbott.
was the chair of the department. Dr. Jack Wilmore edited, published so many books about sports science in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And taking a class from him, it was heavy. It took a lot of studying to pass his classes. So it was challenging, and I learned a whole lot from that standpoint. So
Now, you played what position at Abilene?
I walked on as a safety, and I played, 3 seasons at safety. My senior year, a strength coach came in by the name of Cliff Felkins, who was an ACU alumni, and he was a world-class discus thrower, and he's still coaching. He's at Texas Tech now, but he arrived on campus, and my body went from 190 to about 215 in a short matter of months. So I got moved to Sam linebacker. So I was a smallish linebacker, but he helped me make that transition.
I bet. And,
Well, Coach, how did you get retained by Coach Summerall? I mean, I know you're on Coach Lindsey's staff, and then I guess Coach Summerall thought well of you, and y'all had the job of a previous relationship. How did that work out?
Coach Summerall did a lot of research when he was making coaching changes. The Dr. Dugas here, our team orthopedic, he had known Coach Summerall from Coach Summerall's previous time here.
Yeah.
And Coach Dugas helped me out a whole bunch. And the players did too. Like Austin Stidham, some of the older leadership guys went to the athletic director after Coach Lindsey stepped down, and they all promoted me and wanted me to be retained. And our AD gave me an opportunity to interview with Coach Summerall, and I went in with a packet and dressed up and job interviewed, and he decided to keep me. So I'm very grateful for that. And
well, I've heard nothing but great things about the job you do, and of course, motivation has a lot to do with it, and strength coaching has as much to do with motivation as anything. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, all the players come here wanting to play football. They don't come here wanting to get a degree in squatting or powerlifting.
Yeah.
You have to make them understand what we're doing is going to help them. And a lot of them have that intrinsic motivation to get better. And so you have to give them the why and make them and guide them the right way. And so the one thing that coming out of the Army, and you have the experience as well, coming out of the Army, is people will think, oh, you're a drill sergeant and you're going to be barking at them all the time. There's no quicker way to shut players down than that. So we have a good working relationship. You treat the players with dignity, and you teach them and you gain trust. And in doing so, they get better. Yeah. So that's the plan.
Sometimes, though, this summer, I'd see y'all and all the cars would be parked there at 6 o'clock in the morning. But I also saw them there at noon. Were they eating there or eating in the facility during the summer?
At noon, they're probably getting ready for the 1 o'clock lifts.
Yeah.
We would have later afternoon lifts. And
Coach, I saw a unique thing, the ice trailer.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about the ice trailer. I read an article about that.
Elias, our trainer, way back in before spring ball, we had talked about that. He brought the idea up, and then I did some research on it. And it's 25 degrees. It's basically a milk truck. You can turn it down to whatever temperature you want. And so
cold milk.
Yeah,
we're a shortage of milk.
We had the athletes walk toward the end of the trailer and back. The offense would go or defense would go first, whichever. And we would close the door down before the next group to let it get cold again.
Yes,
so they're walking in there between 20 and 40 degrees.
Claustrophobia.
And
I'm sure they don't put everybody in at once, do they?
No, they walked in a single file line. So it took about 5 minutes to get the whole team to walk through it.
But that door is closed. It's totally dark.
We didn't close the players in it. We only closed it in between groups to cool it back down. But they really enjoyed it. We didn't have any I think we had to IV about 3 or 4 players. And I think it made a significant difference in
yes.
Their morale was really high. They actually looked forward to doing it.
Before this, they had the pool that had ice in it. You walk through the pool of ice.
We have a cold tub. A refrigerated cold tub. It's about 30 feet long.
Y'all still going there?
Coach, how pleased are you with the facilities here at Troy University, and what are some things that you would like to enhance?
If you hear a roar, we're fixing to have a big rainstorm out here.
We have a very good weight room, okay? And it's we have 15 workstations, and we can get as strong as any NFL team, any college team in the country. So our weight room is great, and I look forward to walking in there every day. As far as what you could do to expand on that, some programs are doing what they call training facilities, and you basically have all-encompassing in a facility with speed development areas that would give you more spacing. So, for instance, a 50 or 60-yard track inside your weight room where you can put sleds, you can do some sprinting maneuvers. With days like today that we're having, you want to have an indoor practice facility. Yes. So those are some things on the horizon for Troy, I'm sure.
I was going to ask you this earlier. There are players that are gun-ho weightlifting, just gun-ho, with everything. But there's some players, believe it or not, don't like to work out with weights. Well, how do you handle somebody like that?
Again, you have to get them to trust the process as to why we're how it can benefit them.
Like Bo Jackson at Auburn is finding a football player. He hated weights. He didn't want to lift weights.
Well, he got a lot of results because he was genetically very gifted, but he did a lot of calisthenics.
Yeah.
He did a lot of push-ups, sit-ups.
But actually the weightlifting, he didn't like that part of it for some reason.
Hey, Coach, how many guys on Troy's roster are 4.4 guys, speed-wise?
Well, there's such a huge pressure on a player to run a 4.4. When you start timing 40s, a lot of their technique can go outside the realm of safety. We do not time 40s. We time their miles per hour in 30s, and we have timing gates. We'll time them between gates and get an accurate reading of how fast a player is. And right now we have 33 players that can run 21 miles per hour. I'm going to get into the weeds here, okay, with some science. If you take 40 yards and an object moves between 40 yards in 4.4 seconds, that object is going 18 miles an hour, okay? But it didn't have to accelerate, okay? If you're already running 18 miles an hour from point A to point B at 40 yards, it's 18 miles an hour. So the hardest thing is to accelerate, okay? So we have 33 guys who can accelerate to 21 miles per hour in that span of time. So I'm going to say we probably have around 8 guys who can actually run 4.4. We have a lot of guys who can run 4.5, and that's still pretty fast.
One good friend of mine, Bud Casey, coached in the SEC for years. He always told me, he said, don't worry about the 40. If he can run 4.6 all the time, he said that's plenty fast.
Well, I mean, what did Emmitt Smith run? Emmitt Smith was a 4.6, 4.7.
That's right.
And, he's the all-time leading rusher. Wes Welker, who came out of Texas Tech, he ran a 4.7 on his pro day. But he was, excellent receiver. So the ability to accelerate in short spaces is more important than running top end at 40 yards. In a football game where you will rarely run straight line 40-yard distance, but you want to be able to accelerate in a 10-yard span. So we put a high premium on accelerative strength in the weight room and accelerating on the field, going from 0 to 21 as fast in as short a distance as possible.
Things.
So when you got to Troy, was Troy physically where they should have been as a Division I program? I mean, you've been there for 3 years now. I mean, did you find that Troy was not strong enough?
Ego with strength coaches, and I'm not going to talk about the previous staff or what they did well or not, but our record hasn't been very good. It's not indicative of the hard work these players put in. But when I got to Troy, we did not have very many players that could power clean 300 pounds. And I'm huge on the power clean. That's a huge emphasis I put on our athletes. So now we have around 40 players. I think we had 12 when I started. Now we have around 40. So we've gotten more power development, and we are faster. And we're going to play a team in, 7 days. And they're going to be some big suckers. So we have to match up. And I do think that our strength and speed levels with our 2 deep can match up against a lot of SEC teams.
Coach, what about the JUCO linemen that we got within the past couple of months? How they?
Coach Popovich brought in.
Yeah.
Well,
Coach Popovich.
Junior colleges in California, we brought in some JUCO guys from California. Mm-hmm. And some were familiar with the weight room and some were not. So it's just been a big mix of abilities in the weight room, but they're all very receptive. And I was really surprised that people have a stigma with junior college players. Oh, they've already kind of peaked out with their attitude and they're hard to deal with. Haven't had any problems. They've been very receptive, and all of the guys that we brought in are big-bodied. Coach Popovich did a great job of projecting the kind of talent that he wants.
And Coach Popovich did the offensive line coach, and of course, he had a lot of NFL experience
with the New England Patriots. So he knew what he was looking for, and he brought in some guys that we can really work with who have room to grow. And Harvey Follows is going to be probably starting for us. And he didn't even really go through much of our summer. But again, they bring in good athletes, and we can teach them quickly, and they can adapt fast.
You know, a lot of weight programs, they like to do things quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like to do some of your deals, like
the Olympic
your curls
lifting?
or whatever?
Every workout that we do, we usually begin with an Olympic lift. So the Olympic lift focus on moving a bar quickly, which develops power. It trains your central nervous system to move and think quickly. So yes. And then we'll get into your traditional powerlifting movements like deadlift and squat. So we do a combination of both.
Let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, when we're talking about deadlift, tell me if I'm wrong, it's to bring the weight all the way to your waist. Now, let me tell you something. We're talking about 400 or 500 pounds to your waist.
We have Luis Medina can do 700.
700. He can reach down there and grab 700 and pick it up to his waist.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty strong.
Well, for a man as young as he is, he's a defensive lineman.
He's only a sophomore.
We have Keyshawn Swanson, who weighs 185, 190 pounds. He pulled 600.
Oh, man.
Tez Johnson weighs about 150 on a good day. Tez can pull 500.
He's a wide receiver.
He was a slot. Now he's just to have a.
Can lift 500 pounds.
So he pound for pound, Keyshawn Swanson and Tez are amongst the strongest guys I've ever coached in body ratio.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Now
you can't get any weight on Johnson. Johnson's been about 150 since he's been there.
He just it's just a developmental thing with him. He's still a very young man. He grew up very active, playing lots of sports, and just eating wasn't part of his repertoire. He would eat just enough to have the energy to do what he did. So changing his dietary habits, it's a process. He went from in the high 130s to around 150, and we're going to get him to 160. That's my goal. Tavon Austin got drafted, I believe out of West Virginia some years ago, and he was in the 160-pound range. So I want Tez to get drafted, and he's going to have to weigh around 160 to get there. So we have a plan, and we just got to get it done.
And he's fast enough. He's real fast.
He's fast.
Yeah.
And for him to get any faster, and he knows this, he has to get more lean muscle mass. So
I noticed with the players Troy has recruited, you've got four wide receivers that are 6'4" and above.
I'm not sure about 6'. Well,
6'3".
Marcus Farrell is about a 6'4" guy.
Yeah.
And let's see, Marcus is around 6'2" and change.
The kid from UAB, the transfer from UAB, 6'4", isn't he?
No, Rajay's around 6'2", probably.
Yeah.
But, is it?
You know, when you're over 6 foot as a receiver, that's a big receiver. You have to be able to shut down your body and slow down and speed up. There's a lot of agility involved in that.
You know, I look at comparing maybe Ole Miss or Alabama or Auburn offensive linemen. They seem to be taller than our linemen. You know, like we might recruit a 6'3", 6'4" offensive lineman, and they get the 6'5", 6'6", 6'7".
Well, SEC, Big 10, Big 12 programs are going to pull those tall guys out,
but you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and we have Austin Stidham is in the 6'4" range. Chase Little is in the 6'5", 6'6" range.
That's good.
So, we get. And these junior college guys are all in the 6'3", 6'4" range. So they're big enough to be next level guys. And you ask your guys to get low pad level and have in a good hitting position. So what your spread offenses desire, like Oklahoma State and your traditional spread offenses, they want length in their tackles to pass block with. And if you're going to run the football, we're going to be balanced. You can get away with linemen that are.
And you block with your hands out. Is that right? Right there, yeah.
Yeah, your elbows are tucked in.
Now, sometimes though, you can sort of grab a hold of something like bull rider. They need to go.
You can grab a guy inside the frame, inside the shoulder pad frame, right here, and you can hold all day. Okay.
Yeah,
Mark Schlereth, the broadcaster, went on a interesting diatribe about that. About you're not going to get called for holding if you like your best.
Right, yeah.
Okay. I can hold you here as a lineman, so we teach our guys to have good grip strength and to punch in this position.
That's why I think they ought to put a bull in there. Have a bull riding machine that you got to hold on to.
I can ride one tomorrow.
That's right.
At Preston's.
You go to the rodeo.
You want to go to the rodeo Saturday night?
Well,
really a good one right here in Troy.
He's probably never been to a rodeo growing up in Texas, though.
What?
He's probably never been to a rodeo growing up in Texas.
I know,
I went to a few, Hazel, FFA, and they had all the rodeo club and all that. So
well, let me just say this, Coach. World Championship Rodeo coming to Troy, Alabama.
So that's
this Friday and Saturday night.
That looks fun. I might go to that.
All right, then we'll get you some tickets.
Coach Whit, what? I don't like using the word hobby, but what do you do in your spare time whenever it's or when it's the winter? I mean,
we're not going to get away from work. I love to snow ski.
Oh boy!
And I like to hike, like challenging hikes. Last year, I got a chance to go to Glacier National Park up in Montana. The most beautiful place I've ever seen. It's amazing. And we did some challenging hikes up there that would really test you. So I like to test myself and do some things like that. Go skiing in 12,000 feet in the air and be up in the mountains. And I play guitar. I love music. I'm a huge music buff. All kinds of varieties of music. And
let me run home and get the guitar.
Get it.
Okay.
We can jam right now.
Okay. He's the blues brother. He does blues.
I love blues. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Muddy Waters, B.B. King. I love all that stuff.
Yeah. And I love.
Yeah, my next door neighbor down here is Brian Kelly from Florida Georgia Line in Great Beach, Florida. Yeah, so I see him all the time. He walks by my house. I talk to him a lot. And then down the road, about 5 houses down from me, Tommy Shaw from Styx owns a house.
One of the greatest singers ever.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet him. That's amazing.
Well, we'll have to ride that.
Everybody knows Hank Jr. I want to sit on the couch and jam with Hank Jr.
Well, you can meet him at a restaurant today.
Jr. has been in my house.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Man, I would love to play some old.
Tell me, Hank, why do you drink? Why do you smoke?
Has a place right.
I know. I'm aware. I would love to sit down.
Up there in the country, I can take you to a restaurant where he eats every time he's up here.
I've heard they eat.
It's called the Tin Top.
I've heard they're around. Like they'll be seen.
But where we like the red. A red schoolhouse restaurant. Have you ever been up there?
I passed on the way to the airport. I passed by.
Oh, back roads, you mean? Yeah. The red schoolhouse is a great place to eat on Sundays, especially.
I need to go.
That's in Dublin, Alabama.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Some people all they got is a job, and I like people that got other things to do in your life.
I do. I love going to concerts. I went to the plant down in Dothan. Whenever they have a marquee act, I'll go down there. So Zach Wilde, the guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne for many years, was down there last year, and that was a big time for me.
Mike, who was the guy you mentioned first just a while ago? You said Kelly or what? What did you say?
Yeah, Brian Kelly from Florida Georgia Line lives in Grayton, where I live.
And then there's a band that comes to the Red Bar. That's a real nice restaurant down there. Well, it's
that's a bluegrass band, Dread Clamp.
Well, it is. I bet he knows.
Well, now, Dread Clamp is just a local Florida bluegrass band. They've been around for years.
Dread Clamp is what I want you to say.
Brian Kelly.
Well, that's what I said. Dread Clamp it.
Oh, Dread Clamp, yeah.
Well, if they're bluegrass, they're very good on guitars and banjos. I love guitars.
Yeah. I love a mandolin player. They got a great mandolin player. I mean, would you consider hiking Everest one day if you got the chance?
Hiking Everest?
Yeah, go to Mount Everest.
Stand in line, right? You got to pay like $80,000 to stand in line.
Do you really?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I watched a lot of documentaries on it. I mean, it does seem like it's a real expensive trip.
It's an expensive trip, and And what they do is they hire those local Sherpas to basically carry everybody's gear, and you just kind of walk up it on a. If the weather gets bad, you're having a bad day though. But it's I've heard there's some pretty amazing hikes in South America and New Zealand. There's all kinds of places I like to.
So what's the highest you've ever hiked?
The highest I've ever been, Pikes Peak, I guess.
Yeah.
14,000.
You've gone up Pikes Peak.
Walked up Pikes Peak.
Oh boy.
The Pikes Peak climb is a big deal for
So
me.
you got to have good legs, don't you, Coach?
You get tired if you don't.
But you got to know what you're doing too at the same time.
Well, it's not Pikes Peak climb. Anybody can do it. It's just time consuming.
Yeah.
But it's you're gonna need to drink a lot of water, and you're gonna probably be sore the next day.
Yeah. How about skiing now? We got quite a few people out there that they ski, but they don't ski at your heights. How high do you go when you ski?
Let's see, the highest. There's Keystone is pretty high up there. There's one just above it. This name escapes me. That it's the highest ski resort in Colorado. I've been there a few times, but usually around tree line is 12,000 feet.
Yeah. So you've skied almost all of them then, is that right?
Well, I've been to all the Summit County has the best skiing probably in the world. You have Keystone, Vail, Beaver Creek, Breckenridge.
And you've gone all
of those. Yeah. They're amazing. They're amazing.
I just got back from Heavenly Tahoe, Coach. You need to go to Tahoe and ski if you've never been there. It's beautiful.
I've been to Tahoe. I've been to Steamboat Springs.
Yeah. Tahoe is mediocre compared to these guys he's been talking to. It's not quite Tahoe.
I mean, Heavenly Tahoe is about 10,000 feet.
When did you get involved in snow skiing?
Well, in the Army, it's a 10th Special Forces group does a lot of snow work, and they were based out of Europe, the Europe Theater of Operations. So they skiing was part of our mantra, our gig, our history. So we would take 4-day weekends, and our sergeant major and our various leadership would go up, encourage us to go up, and so. But I learned how to ski before I was in the military, but skiing was a big part of the culture I was in Colorado.
Does the Army or Special Forces have units that are ice?
The mountain teams. They have mountain teams that have snowmobiles, and they climb. They have the ice climbing equipment.
So we can fight in the
anywhere
ice
on Earth.
Anywhere
on Earth.
And underwater.
And underwater.
Yeah.
We have scuba teams.
Yeah.
Our Green Beret scuba teams are some of the best trained soldiers in the world. Their physical fitness is amazing. Those, along with Navy SEALs, they do very, very similar training.
Yeah, and you thought about being a SEAL?
When I enlisted, I initially wanted to be a pilot, but then my eyes didn't pass the eye test for him. I called the Marines.
Colorblind.
I called the Marines, went and scheduled a physical. I wanted to fly F-18s, and they said, your eyesight's bad. You got astigmatism and all this other nonsense. So I thought about the SEALs, read a lot about it. But when I was about in 8th grade, my mom was a librarian her whole life. She brought me home a book called The Green Berets by Robin Moore. It's just a legendary book about exploits of teams in Vietnam.
But when you thought of the Green Berets, the face you saw was John Wayne.
I have a John Wayne poster in my kitchen of him in that movie. But yeah, I read that book, and I was stuck on, if I'm not going to be a pilot, I want to do that. So I did my research, walked into the recruiting office, and they said, you're too old to be an SF. And so I looked at the next poster, and it had an Army Ranger standing in a swamp with his patrol hat and his M16. I said, well, can I do that at least? And he goes, I can make that work. And so I signed up to be a Ranger. And then when I went to airborne school, I was getting ready to do my last jump. And it was a combat night jump. And I'm on the ground. And I had done I'm 32 years old. I got 18-year-old guys.
Yeah,
and I was a platoon leader. I was in charge of all those guys. And I've been a coach. So, of course, you're more mature. And a cadre comes walking in wearing his Class A uniform, and he was about a 6'4", 230-pound Green Beret. The first Green Beret I ever saw in person, and he was like a superhero. And he had a clipboard, and he comes walking in, and he goes, "I'm looking for a Whit, Russell T, 9307. I was like, "Here, Sergeant." And he goes, "Your orders have gotten changed.
Oh, no.
You're going to go to Fort Bragg, and if you sign here." And I was like, "Okay." So I signed it. He folds up my orders, puts it in my pocket, and he goes, "Good luck," and walks out. So at that moment, I thought I was going to go to Ranger Battalion and go what was called RIP, Ranger Indoctrination, which is a smoke fest. You're going to get beat up. And instead, I got directed to go to Fort Bragg. So
but you shouldn't have, because Rambo is at Fort Bragg. Rambo.
You were laying on your back.
Hey, how many
Where
times?
was this at when he came?
It was in a hangar at Fort Benning in the airborne school, and we all sit back to back, leaned against each other. So it was a fun time.
Well, Coach, do your players ask you about your?
Some do. Some, some just want to be.
They want to. Are you close to all these players? Are you a person that they can come and talk to?
I try to be. I want to be. You have to gain their respect and their trust, and I've done that with several of them. And we have some players that want to hear a war story once in a while, but we're so limited in time, and if it doesn't relate to their life, I don't want to just.
But there's no question you spend more time with them than any other coach.
I do, and it's just why I do it. I enjoy seeing a young man show up at 18 years of age and develop work habits and study skills and develop as a man.
Let me ask you this, and then another thing, they've got to go to class. I mean, they've got to be tutored, and and go to class and work on their.
Really limited. You have to be concise and get them in and get them out.
Let me ask this. Really, an athlete's got an advantage over the regular student because of that you've got so much tutelage. Is that right?
If you're a college football player or basketball or any number of the sports, and you get a good GPA, and you're competitive, your time management skills, whether you know it or not, are really exemplary. And that's something that employers can really hang their hat on when they're hiring people. So their time management, they don't realize it, but their time management skills have been trained and honed by the time they're 3 or 4 years deep into it.
So it really helps them academically, doesn't it?
Well, knowing that you have to be eligible to experience all the fruits of being a college athlete puts a lot of pressure on them.
Hey, Coach, how much do y'all lift during the season? So after y'all play Ole Miss, I mean, y'all come back in the next week. I mean, do y'all lift like 1 day or 2 days during the season?
Squad will work out Monday and Wednesday, and then we have right today we call the pros only. So if you want to be a pro, you work out and you volunteer your workout on Thursday. So they basically, a guy like Jake Andrews and Daniel King, 2 of our offensive linemen, I showed up to work this morning at 5:28 a.m., and they were already in there warming up. So Jake Andrews wants to be a pro. He will be a professional offensive lineman.
He's that good.
He's that good. Yeah. So, of course, he sets the standard of being one of the first guys in the building. So our travel players will work out 3 hours a week in the weight room, and our non-travel developmental will work out 4 days a week.
That's 65 on the road. On the road, you can carry 65.
I believe 65 might be the conference rule. When you're playing non-conference, you can take more. I think we might take around 80.
So y'all probably take a bunch of Ole Miss then, won't you?
Yeah, we'll take probably 75 or 80.
Yeah. What will your role be on the sideline?
My role is I will get a special teams personnel sheet, a laminated sheet, and I got to pay attention to down and distance. So if it's third down, I got to get the punt team up.
Okay.
Oh, so you
got on-field responsibilities.
I have on-field responsibilities. My primary job is to get back coach. Every strength coach's main job is to make sure guys stay behind the line. And you got to grab coaches sometimes. Hey, coach, back up.
Yeah.
And
so you're right in the middle of it, aren't you, Coach?
Yeah. In the middle of it.
Is that true for all strength coaches?
Pretty much. I know that the strength coaches at Army West Point, Connor Hughes, he spends most of his time with his back to the field, getting players up. Now, when you run the offense that Army and Navy and Air Force runs, they always have third down.
Run the option.
They always have a third down. So he's always calling out players punt, and then they'll convert it. Okay, go back. Yeah. So it's frantic. Yeah. It's frantic.
So that excites you. I mean, because that's the coaching end of it.
Yeah, it's exciting, and you have to really be on point.
So if you got a player down who's normally on the punt team, you got a player down.
Yeah,
next man up knows who he is.
So I got a Sharpie marker.
Okay.
All the coaches carry Sharpies all over them, and you pull it out, and you'll draw a line through one of the players, and his backup's right underneath.
Okay.
Tell us about Coach, your head coach.
Coach Summerall.
Yeah, Coach Summerall.
Well, Coach Summerall, I heard he was in the running, and
did you know him before?
Didn't know him before. We had a lot of common acquaintances, though, which helped me get retained. He knew people that knew me.
Yeah.
And Coach Summerall played at Kentucky. He's from Huntsville, so he's a local guy. He worked here previously with the previous staff, so he had a lot of success here. Coach Summerall's energy, attention to detail is just awesome. And his posture, he walks in the room, the whole room is like, oh, there's
you can tell he works out a little bit.
Well, he runs and he lifts. He's a very busy guy.
Yeah.
So he's not like always in the weight room, but he stays fit. And when he walks in the room, he's got this attitude of this air of confidence.
Does he fire him up? Does he do any of that?
He does. Well, our younger players will do that, and that there's an emotional demand that he puts on our players to do that. But he's always harboring that kind of.
When he played at Kentucky, his teammates called him drill sergeant.
Oh yeah.
I read his bio.
Okay.
Say next time you see him, say drill sergeant.
He has a presence about him. You're correct, and his demeanor is.
I can see.
Eyes locked in.
I can see him with a flat bill hat. I can see him. He looks like a drill sergeant.
Well, he demands excellence from everybody.
Coach, you've got a great staff. And some of them I'm closer to than others, but. Tell us a little bit about Evan Mckissick, tight ends coach.
So Evan played here. He played center, and Evan's 5'10" maybe. And
240 pounds. It started at Division I Troy.
He's just a rolling ball of butcher knives with his excitement.
You got to have a guy like that now.
He's awesome, and he loves to talk crap.
Where'd you get that expression?
Jimmy Johnson.
Okay.
The old coach for the Cowboys.
Okay.
And
I've never heard.
Yeah, and
rolling ball butcher.
He was talking about Zach Thomas.
Okay.
Which, if you remember him playing for Texas Tech and the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
So he called Jimmy Johnson called Zach Thomas a rolling ball of butcher knives at linebacker.
James Milano.
Special teams coach.
He came from Canadian League. He's coached all over the place. He's been in college, the NFL setting. He came from Canada. I mean, an expert in special teams.
That's great. And David Mackey, defensive analyst.
Correct. He works in the back end with the DBs, and he's a very intellectual guy with the secondary.
Yeah. Now, if you want one of these things, the Messenger still has this magazine out on with Coach Summerall and his staff. The next one is Eric McDaniel.
Came to us from Army West Point.
Oh boy, another West Point.
So we have a couple more. Well, we actually have 3 coaches.
Should I start saluting these guys every time?
Well, he wasn't in the military.
Okay.
He played at Purdue, though.
Yeah, Division I player, and
so did Lenny Dawson.
And
he's really demanding of the defensive line.
Now I know you probably are pretty close to this guy, Shield Wood.
Yeah, Shield worked. See, when I got to Army, well, he wasn't there. When I left Army, he was incoming. So we just crossed paths.
But I'm sure he probably talked to people about you.
Yes.
Brock Hayes, the running backs coach.
Yeah, Brock, he's a great recruiter. He knows every coach in in the state.
Mike, this guy's a real good friend with.
Yeah, Brock Hayes was at Louisiana Tech under Skip Holtz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does a great job with the running back.
And then this young coach here, and I met all his people last weekend.
Taylor will chase his play. Taylor's faster than most of the linebackers, which is a compliment to him. I mean, he will chase our players all over the field. He's so energetic and he has so much passion. He played on at Ole Miss.
Yeah, he'll be going back home to play Ole Miss.
Yeah,
he's a great young coach.
Cole Popovich.
Popovich.
Now, you know what? He didn't have a hard time making his family feel good. The minute he got here, built a pool behind his house. so now all his kids enjoy a good hot.
You talk about a no nonsense professional. He is really good at his job. He's very demanding of the O-line.
And he's got a kid, a young man that plays for Charles Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know he's proud
plays
of him.
in the secondary.
Yeah. Travis Pearson.
Yeah, Travis has a lot of experience in coaching in Alabama and colleges, and he and I are the same age. We make a lot of jokes about the way ball used to be played. He played for a long time in the arena leagues, and
he was taught to use his head.
we all were.
Here's one of my favorite coaches, Bam Hardeman.
Bam and I go way back to my first days here, and he and I have been friends for a long time. And Bam played at Florida. He's the best athlete on our staff, and in 2020 and 2021, he would work out with every linebacker group. So he would work out in the rack and do the entire workout. So he's a real dude.
Yeah, he's been on the show before.
Jamal
Smooth. Yeah, Smooth played here, played corner, and Smooth knows, I think, everybody in the town you need to know, and he's kind of our operations guy. He wears many hats, and I talked to him about 10 times. He's tired of talking to me probably already today.
Adam Hamel.
Adam left to go back to New Orleans.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And we hired the Colin Kenyon to replace him.
Yeah, okay. Here's a guy, Mike, you're very familiar with, and one of the all-time great receivers at Troy was Gary Banks, wide receiver.
Yeah, Gary Banks, so he had NFL experience, and he's a good teacher. He teaches our guys how to be good wideouts.
Gary interned for me at Charles Henderson Middle School. He was one of my interns.
He's a great guy.
Ask him to sing Mississippi Queen.
That's all you
got to say. Mississippi. Ask him, can he sing it?
Joe Craddock, the offensive coordinator coach. Tell us a little bit about him.
So he comes to us from UAB, played college quarterback, and very organized, very demanding of the quarterback. So he's on the field coaching the quarterback.
And he'll call the plays, won't he?
Yes, he's going to be calling the plays. Yeah.
That's pretty important position. Caleb and Amy Ross.
Yeah. So Coach Ross has a lot of head coaching experience in the high schools. If you notice, our staff is really well put together for recruiting.
Yeah, it really is. No question about it. And then, of course, a good look at Coach Summerall and his wife, Jenny. And but this magazine, ladies and gentlemen, you can get it by going by the message. And, of course, there's a picture of Coach Summerall and his family. And it's up close and personal, Coach.
Well, I've got a staff meeting at 8:30.
Well, listen, let me tell you this.
Run out the
door. You sure you can't eat breakfast with us? But no, it's 8:30 right now. But listen, I'm gonna come get you. I'm gonna come get you.
Great talking to you guys.
I'm gonna come get you one morning, and we'll go eat breakfast.
Where are we gonna go?
Either probably go to Birds or go to.
Let's do it. I love breakfast.
All right. Well, you can get our eggs over light at Julia's, and then you can get a wonderful breakfast at Birds.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
In the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle? We've got what you're looking for.
So come see us at Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Troy, and you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.
Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC.
These teenage years can be tricky to navigate, especially when it comes to teaching my son about managing money. I'm thankful for helpful tools like Sidekick from Max. With Sidekick, requesting and rewarding money is easy. He can earn it by completing chores, making honor roll, or simply making a request from his own app. I love that I can easily monitor his purchases and set limits to help him learn to make smart choices with his spending, even on video games. Sidekick. Find it in your Max app.
Our wide selection of pre-owned vehicles looks so good, you'll think they're new.
So take the short drive to Bill Jackson Ford in Troy, where you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.
Bill Jackson Ford, Troy, Alabama.
All right, we're back, Mike.
Back to our show, brought to you by Premier Dodge Chrysler Jeep on the bypass right here in Troy. And of course, remember, nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody. And of course, high school football's here in a big way. College football starts with Nebraska and Northwestern this Saturday morning about 11 o'clock, something like that.
Yes, sir.
And they're playing in Ireland.
Ireland. It'll be about 11 o'clock on the TV. And, we just had Rusty Witt from Troy University.
Were you impressed?
That's super impressed. And the most impressive thing for me, he's 32 years of age. He's rehabbing a knee injury. 9/11, he's watching 9/11 as it unfolds. And after he heals up, he joins the United States Army. Later becomes part of the Special Forces. He has 2 deployments to Iraq. And that is sensational.
Sure is.
But, volleyball is here.
Yes,
full
sir.
swing.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to mention this. Charles Simpson will play at home today against Ayrton. Goshen will travel today to George W. Long, and Pike County will host Barber County. So your local volleyball is in full swing. Of course, high school football tomorrow is in full swing.
And I'll tell you this, a couple of, you've got soccer, women's soccer, and volleyball. Volleyball is a great spectator sport. You can go to a Troy volleyball game and sit right there in front of them, and it is a great venue. Really is.
Being a physical education major, Mike, I took theory and technique of baseball under Chase Riddle.
Yeah.
I took theory and technique of football under Charlie Bradshaw.
Okay, you're right.
I took theory and technique of coaching basketball under George Sorrell.
Yeah.
And volleyball, I took Ginger Sprague.
Yeah,
and then when I went to graduate school at South, I hung around the volleyball team out there. I love volleyball.
Yeah, I do too. And it's going to be, I know this, they come from all over the country to play for Troy. And, it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I'd like to find out when they play what their schedule is.
I could look that up real quick.
We talked about it. And, of course, the highlight high school game of the week is Brantley at Highland home. And, of course, that's going to be a big one. Then Goshen at Diane Chapel. Diane Chapel looks to be better offensively than they've been. They scored 28 points in a losing effort.
If Goshen wins Friday night,
Yeah.
they will double their wins last year.
That's
the only
right.
team they beat last year was Pike County.
And I've heard interviews with the coach, and let me just tell you, he brings a lot of positive things to the program. Not saying that Snyder Coach Snyder was an outstanding coach. And tell me a little bit about the Wednesday night show.
Well, I caught glimpses of it. David Helms, who's former coach at Goshen High School, he coached. I think he started his coaching career, teaching career at Pike County.
Yeah.
Or at Banks, but then he coached a little bit at Pike County. Then
I am so glad
he was a
to see
head
him
coach
being
at
around.
Goshen High School, and then when he left Goshen, he became an administrator at Charles Henderson Middle School. Then he moved up to the high school as principal. Then he served in the central office.
He was an outstanding educator, an educator that could reach all ages.
From Clayton, Alabama. His wife is Sherry Ziegler from Zion Chapel. And they've got two sons. Adam, who's the defense coordinator at Clay Chalkfield, is married to Lacey Bassett here from Troy.
And what a bloodline, because Lacey's daddy is Richard Bassett, one of the all-time greats at Charlton High School and at Troy.
And David's other son is Adam.
Yeah.
No, it's Clay. Clay married, I think, Bonnie Everidge, Anthony and Dickie's daughter. But they live in Montgomery. But to answer your question about Troy volleyball, they play this Friday at Georgia. That's tomorrow. They'll play at Georgia in the Classic City Clash. They'll also play Santa Clara, which is out of California. And then they'll also play Chattanooga. So they have three teams that they'll play: Georgia, Santa Clara, and Chattanooga this Friday and Saturday. And then they'll go to the title. They got some good.
When's the next home game?
Next home game for Troy volleyball will be. It looks to me it will be September the 15th against Alabama State.
That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Now, let me, and of course, we're going to have a little miniature scoreboard show tomorrow on this show. So we'll be going over what high school teams mostly that are playing this week. It'll be a lot of fun, and of course, when the season starts, we'll have a full college scoreboard show, or college. It's gonna be competitive. I'm going up against all the rest of them, and I will let you know who's winning college football next week. We hope you enjoyed our show. Appreciate Forrest Lee being our.
He wants to call me Fair and Young, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. He's gonna sing for us soon. But also Rusty Witt, really impressive, and the strength coach at Troy. If you don't have this, if you were unable to watch this today, go to TC2. And you can pick it up all the way across the country.
TC2 Troy TV.
And
have a good week.
To you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, for Today in LA.
A personal touch,